So thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, from wherever you are joining. My name is Vincent Mokaya, and today I'm going to be your moderator on this webinar regarding in an organization that intends to move away from having losses to the aspect of making profit and also having a proactive approach in the operations. This presentation is made available by Smart Compliance from Uganda in partnership with ISO Robots, that is a system a development and also service provider in the automation industry for best practices. We can go to the next slide. So the agenda of our presentation, we are going to have the introduction of our guests. Then, of course, the panelists also will be able to introduce themselves. Then we'll have a view or a presentation of the industry, current trends regarding Uganda as an economy, and also the practice that is currently within the country regarding risk management. Then we'll also look at the market size regarding the same aspect in terms of risk management. Then after that, our panelists will have a fireside chat regarding the adoption or how best organizations can move forward away from being reactive in the operations and also facing a lot of challenges here and there, to having an automated system that can help them operate in a seamless way without having any challenges that could hinder their business operations. So that is the agenda for today. And then of course, the participants will have an opportunity to have their questions, and also the panelists will be able to respond to those questions. And at the end of the day, we'll close the presentation with that section. So thank you. And next. So at this point, I would like to take this opportunity to invite our panelists to introduce themselves. Then we'll also have an opportunity for the guests to introduce themselves, and then we can move forward with the presentation. Yeah, most welcome.
Maybe we can start with Lynette.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Lynette Kanakwa, the risk officer at Eskom Uganda Limited. Risk management, specifically enterprise risk management, is my area of expertise. I look forward to adding value to this conversation and hope we can build risk management.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lynette, and you're most welcome to this webinar. And we are very glad to have you as our panel speaker. And we look forward to sharing more from you as an Eskom representative and also a risk expert in this field. Thank you very much. Ravi or Michael?
Yeah, a very good morning to everybody. My name is Ravi, and I, handle most parts of the lead of the consulting business for Excedia. Excedia is one of the leading business process automation companies globally, and we are in the space of risk, compliance, audits, and process automation across organizations. The core area of focus has typically been around the ISO and related compliance standards, and ensuring that organizations are able to get maximum business success while being compliant to all regulatory and external or environmental risks of all sorts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ravi. You're most welcome, and we look forward to getting a lot from you, or to also our participants to get to appreciate the expertise that you are bringing on board. Very much welcome. Finally, Michael, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Michael may have to join later. I think I can't see him right now.
Okay. Okay, so Michael will join us in the course of the webinar. So thank you very much, our panelists. So we'll continue to our presentation, and then later on our participants will have the opportunity to have their Q&A session as per our agenda. So this presentation has been made possible to discuss the context of risk in an organization. And we understand, of course, organizations operate using structures, and in other words, governance. And based on this coverage, we want to understand best decision making within the component in an organization. How can organize processes that speak to the aspect of having controls in place to ensure that risks do not occur in an organization, and if they do, the organization is very much ready and very much aware of them, and they have controls or procedures in place or interventions in place to ensure that they don't get affected by these risks. So wherever you are, ask yourself this question: is your organization that you're representing doing enough to manage risks? Risks are there to be managed because we can't escape risks in a normal business environment. And definitely in any normal business environment, there are changes every day in our routine or non-routine operations. So this is something that we need to appreciate and put an emphasis that as we operate as an organization, we have this at the front of our heads in our proper and structured decision-making processes. And that's where governance comes in. So in context, Uganda as a country, this is our subject for the webinar today. The market overview. As you know, Uganda is one of the fastest growing economy in the region, East Africa region, and in extension, the sub-Saharan region in the African continent. And that is a change, definitely. So whenever there is a change, you have to be prepared as an organization. And in this case, we are looking at enterprises operating within the Ugandan sector, either as local entities or as international entities through partnerships or sole operations. They have to have a proper plan in place to ensure that they're actually responding to this ever-changing environment in their business. So looking at the market overview of Uganda, the risk management establishes a very strong governance aspect, and it's no longer simply a business or operational responsibility. This is a topic that needs attention. And this attention, the first point or the first door that we are stopping this attention is at the leadership of any given organization. This is where decisions are made. This is where critical interventions are actually ideated and also implemented. So if leadership of an organization appreciates that governance definitely drives a good risk management practice or system, then that will be a thing that can be considered. So in the fiscal year of 20,
Vincent, are you there?
I think we've temporarily lost Vincent. He'll be just joining back again. Yes, Vincent's back.
Yes, please. Sorry. That I think poor connection. That's challenges of risks. Actually, we'll discuss about that. So, looking at the economy of Uganda, the comparative advantages are in various sectors, and here we are looking at the agriculture, which is a main sector in Uganda. And the estimated recoverable oil reserves, we are talking about the oil and gas, is up to the over of 1.4 billion barrels. That is the upstream of the oil and gas in Uganda, which is currently being developed. And we have the various stakeholders from Total to CNOC and also the government of Uganda being involved in that. The first oil is expected in 2025. This is a projection. And of course, this projection helps in preparation. So suppliers, the local content, international service providers have to prepare for this market. In this preparation, risk as a topic or as a subject comes into the picture. And you're going to look at that shortly. According to the Uganda Bank, UBOS, in 2021, the top three countries exporting goods and services to Uganda were China, $1.3 billion, India, $841 million, and also Tanzania, which is a neighbor country to Uganda, $811 million. This is quite significant, and we know countries like Uganda are really striving very hard to build and strengthen their local content. And this is the perspective we are looking at in terms of imports to the country, and exports to these countries. Then in 2021, the top three countries importing goods and services from Uganda, these are now the exports, is the UAE, which had $1.05 billion. Kenya, the country which is also a neighbor to Uganda, $534 million. And then we have South Sudan, which is also a neighbor to Uganda to the north, that also had $481 million. Uganda is a strategic country, and from these figures, you could tell it's just as at the center of the corridor that really coordinates the trade facilitation, movement of goods, services, and also people, which is the human capital. And this is very, very important when we talk about economic growth. Now, market opportunities are brought by these changes. Market opportunities are brought by economic growth. And in the perspective of Uganda, specifically when we look at the oil and gas, so the first oil is expected to come out in 2025. However, in between here, in terms of preparations, businesses have been brought on board. We have the regulators here in Uganda, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, which has created the local content perspective, where it provides a platform for service providers to register themselves, get qualified in order or in preparation to provide services, either for the upstream, midstream, and also downstream projects. And right now we know the government and its partners has invested a lot of money in the upstream, which is the exploration and production of this oil that is expected. The midstream, we have the EACOP, East Africa Crude Oil Pipeline, which is going to pass through Uganda and Tanzania, all the way to Tanga Port to export this crude oil as a product. And of course, both countries will gain a lot of revenue from that. Then we have, of course, the downstream. Now, those white or black products that are expected from the downstream, either as imports, either as value addition, because oil and gas industry supports a lot of products in the market, either in the manufacturing industry, directly or indirectly, among other sectors. So this is a very huge interest that we have as a country developing the oil and gas, and we have to consider the language of risk management. Power, which is the electrification. We have the government National Development Plan 3, which is supporting a 5-year strategic implementation of government interests or government priorities, and electrification is one of it. And here, of course, we have the existing hydropower stations, Lynette is representing ESCOM, which is also a key stakeholder in this specific segment. And we are seeing some of the projects which are being implemented to expand access to electricity, which in turn ensures that any business stakeholder is actually able to operate, having access to the power that is being provided through the national grid. So it's actually targeting the MSMEs. So there are different packages that the government is providing for various business entities. Agriculture, which is one of the main activities of Uganda, is very critical and also very unique to this country. And we've seen it contribute 24.1% to the GDP of the country, and also 33% as export earnings, meaning those agricultural products which are being exported to different or various countries is bringing in a lot of revenue to the country. And this helps in economic growth. Then we have construction also as a sector of interest. The government is focused on building roads, especially roads to oil producing areas, which is part of the local content capacity building as part of the NDP3 that the government is currently implementing. Then we also have the information and communication technology, which is basically our subject area for this presentation, since we are talking about business automation, looking at the subject of risk. Now, ICT is very key because it drives the business changes that we are actually experiencing as a country and also on a global perspective. And the government of the day is very, very much interested in building capacity from the educational level to ensure that there is access to ICT programs, and also at the business level to ensure that organizations are actually appreciating the need for ICT in their own interventions and also business strategies. Then we have the healthcare. This is at the center of any business sector because you have to be having a good health as a person, as an individual, in order to be productive in any given context. So the government is really investing a lot and also ensuring that it drives a good and positive healthcare management system countrywide. And they are doing this through a well-structured public-private partnership, which is also the same context or structure that the government is using in oil and gas sector through public and private partnerships, because it brings a lot of value when government partners with the private sector. Okay, next. Then the global
Vincent? I think some challenges of technology, right?
Me?
Vincent, are you there?
Yes, I'm on.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Vincent, you're audible.
Okay, sorry. So I was saying this global market overview is expounding. It's like an upscale of looking at the Ugandan market context. And we are seeing a projected improvement or a projected increase in the risk management software uptake based on the current trends that have been analyzed by business experts. And we have IsoRobot here on board and also Exceldia Ventures as key stakeholders. Now, looking at this market, the 2029, of course, we expect this market to grow and ensure that any business entities or enterprises that have an interest in risk management software and business automation are able to achieve that or realize that in the seamless possible way. Then we have North America, which is a continent in our global perspective or context. They have a stake in this risk management software uptake. They have dominated the risk management software market with a market share of 36.9% globally, owing to the early adoption, of course, based on awareness. So businesses and most enterprises in the North America have embraced the adoption of business automation practices, considering the risk management aspect. Then we have adoption of cloud deployment mode for risk management software implementation, owing to its increased availability and high scalability drives which drives the market. So awareness is very key because most of these organizations, for example, when you look at Uganda, most organizations, we have very new organizations that are being established, either due to response to the oil and gas opportunities. We have entities that are coming up due to either creativity and innovation within the context of Uganda economy, because of also government programs that are driving entrepreneurship within the country. However, are they aware of the best practices when it comes to risk management, when it comes to the overall strategic management of the organizations, decision-making processes, and also being able to adapt to the ever-changing business environment? That is a subject that needs to be looked at, because you will find at individual level, yes, you could be aware of the best possible practices that need to be put in place. But when you come to an organizational level, you could find this is not appreciated. So we need to have a mindset change in the adoption and also embracing new strategies and also new approaches. Then we have the increasing adoption of risk management software in transport and logistics sector for logistic management, with increasing government initiatives that is set to drive the market. So during COVID, for example, a period we saw the criticality of logistics and also the transportation sector. Business providers in this sector who didn't have a business continuity strategy, for example, which covers risk management. Some of them may be closed shop, for example, but those which were proactive, which had good governance frameworks in place and also structures and a very transparent and decision-making process, may have stayed afloat and may have reaped from the ever rising demands in their services. And that's something that we've seen has driven them to automate their processes and ensure that they have a seamless decision-making process that is easily actionable, because you can have strategies, but if they are not actionable, then it remains to be just an idea. Okay, next. Then the risk
Sorry
management.
to interrupt, Vincent. I guess Suzanne had raised the hand, but we'll be taking all the questions at the end of the presentation. Yeah, Vincent, you can carry on.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, feel free to share your questions here. So we have the risk management software drivers, and I've already talked about the business change, the changing business environment. It's a very key driver of risk management business automation. And these softwares are driven by organizations' decisions to make a seamless governance structure in place, have processes that are very seamless. There is no bureaucracy, there is no complexity on how you do your operations as an organization. And this is very critical in an enterprise's growth and also survival in the business environment. So integration of advanced technologies, we've seen the uptake of big data. We have this fourth industrial revolution that is definitely driving the business changes that need to be appreciated within this context. So advanced technologies have to be appreciated in a given context. And remember, we have various sectors that are operating in Uganda, for example. So they need to appreciate which advanced technology can apply to them based on their context and based on their strategic direction. Where do they want to see themselves in the coming years, and what do they want to achieve? So objectives, the goals and the targets drive the decision that can be made on the choice of risk management technology to adopt. Then we have government initiatives So we've seen governments, for example, in Europe, there is the implementation of several regulations that drive the aspect of risk management. In North America, the same, since they're the pioneers in this adoption of automation. In Africa, it's still a subject that has now gained interest in the few preceding years, more so due to the COVID pandemic, that made organizations realize that without being proactive, without having intentional decision-making processes, then your business might not survive in a given business environment. So that subject has changed, and we are seeing a changing trend in governments appreciating the need to embrace technology and also automate. For example, recently in Kenya, they've made a very good initiative to automate all government services through technology. In Uganda, we also have NITA, the National Information Authority, that is really coordinating the automation of government services in coordination with its government agencies, partner government agencies. And this is a very good initiative that ensures there is access to services in a seamless and easiest way possible at the comfort of your place. The same can also be applied in enterprise operations in your day-to-day business activities. Then we have the risk management software market challenges. We have data security issues, for example. In Uganda, they recently passed some information management or information security or data protection legislations. However, after passing those legislations, we monitored how those legislations become a practice. Can we change the culture of Ugandans, for example, and all those others that are within the Ugandan
I guess Vincent is again facing some challenges, some network issues.
Maybe we'll just give it a second. I think Vincent would just join back, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the questions can keep coming, so we'd be happy to address them if time permits, or definitely write back or contact back with answers.
Susan, you had raised your hand earlier. Like, do you have any question to ask to the panel? You can ask now. Everyone can make use of the chat option. Any questions that you have, please feel free to put it on the chat, and the panelists would love to answer to all of your questions.
Yes, hello.
Hey, Vincent, you're
Hello.
on? Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah, sorry, I dropped off. Sorry for that disruption. We were talking about the data security issues. We have an ISO standard that actually talks about this under governance frameworks, the information security management system, which has quite a number of, actually, this is one of the ISO standards that has quite many sub-components of it. It has over 30 sub-standards that can be used to manage information security. And data security or data protection is one of that sub-component. So organizations could, for example, look at their risk management framework and adopt or integrate information security management as one of the best practices to ensure that information security is not a disruption or an issue. Then we have another challenge in the risk management software market, which is risk management software market landscape. So like in Uganda, the providers like IsoRobot might not have enough data to ascertain how the trend market is in terms of uptake of these interventions, which is the business automation. So there needs to be a data mining kind of approach that helps in understanding the needs of the business environment in a national context, regional context, or continental context, even on a global context, to ensure that, for example, North America has a 39.1 global market share of risk management softwares. In Africa, what is the percentage? That is something that we can not clearly definitely determine. However, based on these engagements, we to bring on board entities, organizations, and ensure that we are speaking this language to ascertain whether they're interested to uptake these interventions and how they plan to utilize them within their business operations. So this can be done through government partnerships, for example, stakeholder engagement platforms where you engage your stakeholders, your intended users of these interventions, to ensure that they understand what it can bring on board, the benefits, the value of this disruptions or business challenges that they could be undergoing. So these are challenges that we appreciate, but at the same time, we are when we appreciate the use of automation, we become solution providers, and that's why we have IsoRobot on board to be among the leading solution providers to organizations that are facing some of these challenges, and ensure that this is provided with the utmost care and also professionalism that runs across the service provision. So service providers could be facing these challenges. End users could also be facing these challenges, but solutions can be there when both of these parties come together and have a discussion to come up with the strategies and also a solution. So engagement, and also awareness is the key emphasis that we are having here to discuss and also solve all this. So introduction to risk management is very key. We've realized that from the engagements we normally have with the end users of these best practices is that risk management is a subject that is not well understood by most entities and also at individual level. So that means that there is still market need So as I was saying, risk is a practice that is used by organizations to help them in identifying the current statuses that they have in the operations, and also help them to forecast, to see how best can they move ahead, how can they forge ahead in their plans, in their goals, in their visions, in their missions, and also the general business context of an organization, be it a government entity, be it a private entity. And this can be a micro entity, a small entity, medium, and even large enterprise. So risk is a language that needs to be adopted. It's a practice, it's a framework. It can be a culture, for example, risk culture that can be adopted within an organization. And it helps in mitigating or controlling the financial, the strategic, and also operational threats that can be internal or external to an organization. And this can happen during your most crucial times, like during COVID, for example. We don't know how most organizations managed to overcome COVID, but when you engage with each organization that is currently operating that had that turbulent time during COVID, they'll definitely give you a thing or two that could relate to risk management or business continuity that they could be unknowingly or knowingly be implementing. So risk is very important. And the moment you have a clear understanding of what risk management is, then the rest of the interventions, the rest of the actions, activities, responsibilities, and accountabilities that you actually put in place in an organization, it means that it will be addressing the right aspect. Otherwise, if people or organizations have the wrong understanding of what risk is, then you can be there wasting effort addressing something that is not actually a risk. So this introduction is very, very important. Why does risk management matter? So here you have to understand organizations are operating in an ever-changing business environment. Change management is a very critical subject also. And whenever there is a change management or a change that happens in an organization, it means that you as an organization, you have to adopt. You have to adapt to that change. Adapting to that change means it will not be business as usual. You have to change your ways, you have to change your approaches, you have to change your tactics, your techniques, your methodologies, and even your plans, for example, as an organization. And this is a real subject that matters to any enterprise that intends to be of value in a given market share. So 57% of senior level executives rank risk and compliance as one of the top 2 risk categories they feel least prepared to address. And this is because of lack of awareness. Remember, when changes happen in a business environment or even in a government structure or structure, because for business, we talk about the business environment. This means, for example, there can be changes in legal, statutory, or regulatory contexts, and they affect businesses directly or indirectly. So why don't the top leaders, for example, up to this point, appreciate the consideration of risk and compliance in their day-to-day decision making, policy formulation, objectives setting, and so on and so on? It's because of lack of awareness. Awareness needs to be appreciated, and from awareness, someone can appreciate the need to consider, the need to have this as part of their considerations in key decision making. 62% of organizations have experienced a critical risk event in the past 3 years. So this is a trend, it's a statistic that has been provided from the risk management perspective. This number is quite big, and this means that risks are inevitable. They are there within our business environment. You cannot escape away from risks. However, since you cannot escape away from risks, you need to do something about it. And that's what we are talking about here. You need to manage the risks. You need to mitigate the risks. And you also need to control the risks. Then we have 36% of organizations have a formal enterprise risk management program, which is the ERM. This is the equivalent of, for example, the ERP. that is an automated business management system, then we have 69% of executives are not confident that their current risk management policies and practices will be enough to meet future needs. This is very, very relatable in the current global business environment, and we need to do better. And we are among the key stakeholders that can drive the change of these numbers or statistics to represent the best practices within our context. Yeah. Next. What could be a potential solution? So we've looked at the challenges, we've looked at the current status and the current context that we are within, either at a global perspective or at the country perspective in Uganda. So as a single comprehensive system, which is an business automated intervention, it could help in making the responsibilities of process owners easier. So it eases up, it simplifies the roles and responsibilities of process owners within the organization. It also provides high quality information with proactiveness in reporting, and also having a dashboard that is able to give you results in real time so that you are able to make decisions, because webinar. And also reputation is very important because your organization has to be known. For example, data security or data protection. As you handle data, because every organization handles data, are you handling the data in a secure way? What if breach of the information security happens? That is a disruption. How do you apply risk management in that? Then risk management and proactive control activities are intertwined. So this is more or less the decision-making process. So you can't do without risk controls. You can't do without being proactive in your day-to-day routine operational activities. Then we have integrated analytics and reporting that is complemented by the dashboarding. So the dashboard from the system helps to provide an interface
Vincent is facing a challenge again.
Yeah, sorry. So this is the section where we have looked at the potential solutions. So moving forward, maybe to the next slide. So now, yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah. So now we bring in our panelists to discuss this as experts in the risk management field. Given the global risk management software market trends that we've looked at, where do you see Uganda competing in the market share? The market share could be regional, it could be continental or global. Actually, if you give us those three perspectives, it will be a very good submission. So most welcome, Lynette and Ravi, to discuss this specific.
Sure. I think thanks so much, Vincent. I think it'll be best if Lynette starts with it.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I saw Michael had joined as well. So, okay. If I can go for it, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Smart Compliance and ISO robot together with Excelia for the opportunity and also for creating
Okay,
this awareness.
discussion.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Lynette, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So if I dive right into it, putting time into consideration, given the global risk management software market trends, where do you see Uganda competing in the market share? Now, if I can just give a highlight on what Vincent had spoken or has been telling us, with North America taking on 36.9% market share in the risk management software and also globally, and having only 36% of formal enterprise risk management in terms of the global perspective. Surely, if we're looking at it from an international perspective, then there's a lot of room for Uganda to compete in this market share. As mentioned, Uganda has market opportunities. However, these sectors that we have looked at, that Vincent has shared with us, are sectors that have high to medium emerging risks. These are sectors that have high risk exposure, and it is vital for the organizations to adopt risk intelligent processes to ensure that business objectives are attained. With the market opportunities that have been highlighted in Uganda, if I can just give a brief what comes to mind, for example, the oil and gas sector, the risk that I would look at off the bat is supply and demand shocks, and then also the fluctuating prices. If we look at agriculture, which is accounted for 21% of the GDP in Uganda and employs about 68% of Uganda's population, this leaves high exposure in terms of risk management. So some of the risks that we're looking at there in agriculture is the climate change, the prolonged droughts. If we move on to the construction, we're looking at the safety of citizens, and also we're looking at the business interruptions in that area in terms of the construction. And then another market area a market opportunity that was mentioned is the information technology, where we're looking at risks like cyber attacks, especially with the most recent one that happened with one of the telecom giants in Uganda. And when we move on to the healthcare sector, in terms of the opportunities, we also have risks like the strikes from the medical workers and also the limited resources. Now, because of this exposure and the number of emerging high to medium risks posed by the market opportunities, Uganda has an opportunity to compete and build its market share on adoption of the risk management softwares to ensure that it builds risk intelligent and risk resilient organizations, even in the midst of uncertainty. Now, Uganda is a developing nation, and with the statistics showing its economy growing at 3.8% between the fiscal year of 21 and 2022, that's July to June, risk management is growing in Uganda. That's for a fact. As it's no longer limited to financial institutions. We now see non-financial institutions like NGOs, NPOs, and government agencies and parastatals steadily adapting the risk management processes to ensure that organizations mitigate risks with high impacts and attain their strategic objectives. If all these organizations that have been, that take part in these market opportunities adopt risk management software, Uganda will definitely be part of the risk management market, which is at an expected value of $35.01 billion by 2029. Thank you. Over to you, Ravi.
Yeah, thank you, Lynette. I fully agree with that. And, we are extremely very positive about the share that Uganda would have. Like you rightly said, the right industries are growing. The bright industries are typically growing. So that's a big positive as far as Uganda is concerned. We see, these critical industries, the oil and natural gas, the agricultural part, some parts of manufacturing, as critical growth components, and that's where Uganda is growing. So risk management from those key driver segments is definitely something which is growing. But more importantly, what is also happening from a risk management software trend perspective is that the technology is becoming simpler for the common man to use. right? So it is demystifying some of the jargons and making it easier for organizations to adapt and organizations to use. I definitely feel that from an organization perspective, Uganda is definitely going to increase the penetration of global risk management softwares. Thanks, Vincent.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lynette and Ravi, for that submission. Michael, are you on?
Vincent, Michael only joining right now is what I got to know. He's just feeling under the weather, so he won't be
Okay.
joining. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So
Yeah, Vincent.
I guess there's some technical issue. Okay, so we can move on to the second question, where again, this is open to the panelists, where we see like currently there are so many softwares in the market right now. And predominantly, of course, ISORobo is one of a very big competitor in the market, which is into completely process automation. So how do you think Uganda can capitalize this entire thing and also adopt process automation? Lynette and Ravi, you can just have a great discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I think before we have the conversation of capitalizing and adapting process automation, there is still room or opportunity for Ugandan organizations to adopt standardized enterprise risk management processes. Because I want to believe that you can only automate a process which is pre-existing. Thereafter, will you be able to automate your risk management process? How can Uganda capitalize and adopt process automation? I Googled process automation, and this is what I found. Process automation is using technology to automate complex business processes. Now, the question here is enterprise risk management a complex business process? This I will leave up to you to answer yes or no. My answer is yes. So because it is a complex business process, it would add value to an organization to actually automate this process. Uganda can capitalize and adapt process automation through having conversations like these, where we spread awareness to various risk practitioners, to various line managers, to various directors, board of directors, so that they can have the buy-in of adapting automated risk management processes or systems. These conversations actually create visibility and act as platforms for organizations and risk practitioners to benchmark on the role of process automation and the role that it plays towards organizations achieving their objectives smoothly. Process automation actually allows the organization to customize their risk management process and framework into a system, and it also ensures that all company risk information has a centralized system, your one data place that you store all your risk information. It also eases reporting, which allows for effective and timely risk mitigation measures to be put in place. And finally, many organizations learned the importance of process automation during COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic. Everyone learned their lesson and the reason as to why we need to have automated processes. So let's not wait for another catastrophic event before we automate our processes, especially the risk management process. Thank you.
I fully echo that, Lynette. The ability for, or the success for anybody, I mean, especially the businesses in Uganda, to adapt process automation is by looking at it in terms of simple, concepts. So identifying and standardizing the processes and using the best practices and, automating using the right tools is the critical part for growing automation within businesses in Uganda. And process simplification by using a repository of best practices ensures that the learning curve is much shorter, right? And there is no challenge which the employees who are part of the entire change do not face that resistance, right? So this particular piece, I feel, Lynette, what you said is perfectly right, that understanding process automation and ensuring using the right tools for ensuring automation is critical. Fully with that. And I think Uganda is well positioned to really grow in this particular space. Right?
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good submission. Thank you, Lynette and Ravi. And actually, what I'm picking from your submissions is that organizations or enterprises, the end users of this automation products, should understand their context, because we have different sectors. We have oil and gas, we have agriculture, hospitality, healthcare. So for it to be customized into your sector, then you need to first understand, where are you at? What are you doing? What is your mission? What is your purpose as an entity? Then it can be customized. So we are talking about the criticality of your presence in the sector you're operating in, and then the applicability of the service or the product that you actually want to use in automating your risk management process. So thank you very much for those submissions. Then after this, I think that's what we had for our fireside chat. We have some questions that we've received, and I would like also to indulge the panelists to discuss briefly about them. The first question is, how best can one improve operational risk in an organization that is not tech savvy? This is from Mark Jim Azua. Yes, please. Lynette Ravi. How best can one improve operational risk in an organization that is not tech savvy? So they don't understand technology very much, but they want to adopt automation.
That's a very, very valid point. And I was just mentioning this earlier as well, is to actually demystify or simplify the terminologies from a technology perspective. So risk management is integral to all businesses, whether it's a large business or a small business. The use of technology to manage risks should be a value enabler rather than having people resist usage of that application. For the same, you need applications which incorporate all of these standards or all of the risk registers and risk classifications or risk mitigation plans into the application as is, right? So therefore, people are not seeing something very different from what they're actually using already within their systems. People may be using pen and paper, or maybe using Excel, or maybe using smaller applications for the same. And usage of technology, the core part for adoption is only simplification and mirroring what they're already doing. And that's something which ISRO does, but I'm sure that's something which people would find value in. Simplification and making it similar to what they're already doing.
Right. Yeah, thank you very much for that, Ravi. And it really addresses that question spot on. And maybe to complement that, when organizations are adopting technology, of course, that is technology transfer. And you'll find most service providers also come with what we call knowledge transfer. So if your organization is not tech savvy, the knowledge transfer aspect that comes in as a value can definitely be taken advantage of to ensure that the users in the organization are competent. Okay, thank you very much. So going to the second question, does the company's risk reporting provide management and the board information they need about the top risks? Does the company's risk reporting provide management and the board information they need about the top risks? This is from Keith Wakadala. So use of information in risk reporting to the top management.
I think Lynette can answer that better.
Yes, Lynette,
yes,
please.
I can go ahead. Thank you very much. Yes, ideally the importance of the report, the risk report, is so that it provides information not just to top management but also to your middle management. But yes, the company strategic risk reports provide information to the board, and also the information that has been put in the risk report advises, ideally a risk manager puts in advisory comments or recommendations or the mitigation plan to present to the board, and also for the board, for the team to get the buy-in and the commitment from the board to ensure that these mitigations are actually going to be put in place, and for them to ensure that they get the support that they need. So yes, the risk report does provide information to the board. Thank you.
Yeah, Vincent, I think that pretty much answers. Vincent, are you there?
I guess again there's a network issue. Okay, so we'll move to the third question, which is by Derek.
So that it's not looked.
Okay, he's back. Yeah, Vincent, over to you.
Yes. How best can you derive value from risk management so that it's not looked at as a cost center in an organization? This is from Derek Biarugaba. So cost, how do you derive value from risk management so that cost is not a constraint in the adoption of these interventions? Ravi or Lynette?
I think Lynette can talk about.
Okay,
Yeah, Lynette,
if
please.
I can give this a shot. How do we derive value from risk management for it not to be looked as a cost center? Number one, engaging the technical experts. The technical experts here are your line managers. When formulating your risk mitigations, you have to ensure that the line managers, the technical experts, are on board in as far as risk mitigations are concerned. This will ensure that you all brainstorm on ideas on mitigations that either reduce likelihood or reduce consequence. Now, when you're focusing on mitigations that reduce consequence, these are the most expensive ones usually. But if you have everyone on board and you focus on mitigations that reduce likelihood, those are the ones that are a bit more cost effective. In some cases, there's no cost that is attached to it. So I would say engaging the technical experts right from the beginning when you're having your risk mitigations, that way they will see that the mitigation has actually enabled the organization to reach its intended objectives to a certain extent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynette, for that resourceful submission. And to complement on the same, organizations need to do what we call value stream mapping to understand each process, what value is it bringing vis-a-vis the risk aspects in it. At the same time, to talk about the cost aspect, organizations should do what we call cost-benefit analysis and also
Vincent?
I'm assuming again there's a network issue. Okay, so we'll move to the next question.
business risk.
Okay.
Yes. Question 4, what is your take in the managing
Okay, I'll just read aloud the question. What is your take in managing business risks alongside health, safety, and environment risks? How do we differentiate these two, or are they even related?
If I can take this on, health, safety, environment risks are limited to people, equipment, and environment. Now, are they, and then when you come to business risks, these are more broad. This is a more broad formulation of risks. The business risks cover the risk, The business risks cover areas like financial risks, your human resource risks, your ICT risks, your procurement risks, your maintenance, and your compliance. Now, the HSE risks can form part of your business risks, depending on what type of business you are. If your construction, safety will always obviously form part of your business risks to a certain extent. If it's engineering, if it's electricity. So it really depends. However, yes, they are different. HSE focuses on people, equipment, and environment, whereas business risks focus on the broader business, the financial, HR, procurement, to ensure that the business attains its main strategic objectives. Thank you.
Yeah, so if I were to say, are they related? Yes, it is part. HSE related risks are a part or a subset of the overall risk register which organizations maintain. And the mitigation plans and the responsibilities engaging all the employees within an organization remains constant, right? So would a technology which is used for incident reporting or incident management be valid for environmental or for business operations? It's the same, right? So whether in terms of an ISO standardization standards, whether one looks at 14,000 or a 45,000, that's not very important. What is more important is that the entire structure or the organization is looking at both these risks, with each with equal weightage, exactly the way Lynette just mentioned, whether it is business risk, that is process-related risk, or fire and safety or health and safety, all of those segments. Yeah, I hope I answered that.
Yes, Ravi and Lynette for the answers. Okay, so there are a few more questions on the chat. Is it visible or should I read it loud?
Maybe you could just read a couple of them, maybe, and then we could probably, look to wind up.
Right. So there's a question from Emmanuel, where he says, I've learned that at 36.9%, the USA being an early adopter has the market share of risk management software, and in Uganda, we do not have verifiable data to work with, not to mention that we are still apprehensive about risk management. A presenter gave a definition of risk and risk management, and I would also suggest that we increase training about the same, emphasizing that risk is not necessarily a bad thing, as much there are threats and there are also opportunities to be taken advantage of. Okay, so sorry, this was not a question. This is just a thought he had. Okay, there's one more question from Francis Ogom, where he asks that, what are your views of artificial intelligence in risk management perspective?
Yeah, so if I would answer that, risk management is, progressively moving into the use of not just artificial intelligence, but also, from a field perspective, use of IoT devices to, proactively report incidences and stuff like that. So early days, but I think the use of artificial intelligence to generate trend maps, to generate to provide data for trend analysis, and IoT to proactively report incidents is definitely in the future. So as the internet propagation happens, as the use of as more data becomes available, I think artificial intelligence would start making sense because it's dependent on the amount of data that we are getting for each segment. I hope I've answered that, Francis.
Okay, there's one more question from Joseph, where he asks, how do you address climate change risking agriculture? Lynette, would you be able to answer this?
Yes, I will answer that. Before I answer that, I would like to agree with Emmanuel Juko's statement. yes, when we're preaching the narrative of risk management, we should not only focus on the threats, we also have to take into account the opportunities and take advantage of the opportunities. I 100% agree. With regards to Joseph Onyango's question, how do you address climate change risk in agriculture? I'm going to keep it simple because I'm going to keep it simple for purposes of time. The first thing I would look at is efficient irrigation management. The second thing that comes up to mind is renewable energy. The third is increasing soil health. The list goes on and on and on. Keeping agriculture green, reducing livestock methane emissions. Yeah, those are the things that I can think of off the bat. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynette. We'll just take two more questions that we have received. One is, the cost of risk management deters some organizations from risk management. What is recommended percentage revenue of profit we need to spend towards risk management in any organization? This question is by Emma.
So different organizations view the spend for risk management differently. But what is more important is to look at something which most organizations do look at, but don't give it the right seriousness, which is typically what right from olden days we call the price of non-conformance, right? The PONC, once it starts weighing in the minds of people, when the risk associated with not doing something is more expensive than the the opportunity in front of them using a technology or using a particular system, whether it is manually done or otherwise. I think that is the break-even point. Like Vincent was mentioning a little while back, to actually do a good ROI, you need to be aware of what you're standing to lose as well. And when you do the cost-benefit analysis, after doing your value stream mapping, you can identify at every stage what all are the risks, and thereby what does the organization stand to lose rather than what does the organization stand to gain, right? And once that is done, I think the decision with regards to calculation of ROIs or calculation of the impact analysis would be far easier. And applications like ISO start at pretty decent rates, and smart compliance, which would be in a much better position to talk about how cost effective the solutions can be. Hope Emma, we've been able to answer that.
Thank you, Ravi. Just one last question that we received from Alan, where he asked, is ISO customizable to fit the risk environment of the user organization, or it's based on standard frameworks such as CISO or ISO 31000, among others?
So if I were to put a thing on ISO is basis the requirements of an organization. So there are more than 34 standards, whether it is COSO, whether it is 31,000, 22,301, 14,000, 45,000. There are a whole lot of standards, ISO or otherwise, which are supported on the ISO. But more importantly, to answer directly your question, it is customizable to fit the risk environment of the user organization. The benefit for organizations is that more than 34 standards are already inbuilt into the application. That's it. But otherwise, it is customizable to the requirements of the organization. I hope that answers.
Okay. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Lynette, for the time.
Yeah, I think Vincent is back, right? Maybe he can help us. Vincent?
Yes, please. Yes, I was listening. Yeah, I was following your submissions, and the last point you've made is actually just to emphasize on it. These ISO management systems have been made in a way that you integrate them to your existing operation context. So they are not implemented separately from what you have as an organization. They are coming in to enhance and help you improve on what you want to practice. The same also for the ISO robot system, which has taken the same approach. So they're intertwined. they're integrated. Yeah, so they'll work together to help you improve. So that was the coverage for today, and we really appreciate for your participation in this. Big thanks for the panelists, Ravi and Lynette, and also Michael, whom was well represented for these submissions. And we look forward to really changing the narrative and having a mindset on how we look at risk in our country, Uganda, and also at the regional and the global perspective, because the moment you adopt best practices, we also expect that you should influence others to also adopt the same, so that our business environment is good for all of us. That is it from my end. I give it back to Angie, and then maybe Ravi and Lynette, if you have closing remarks, we could also use this opportunity to, as we conclude. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, Vincent, I would definitely like to thank you for the way you've actually helped us drive through this entire conversation. I would like to also thank Smart Compliance, which is our partner in Uganda, and doing such fantastic work in the area of process management, in Uganda. And thank you, Lynette, and I leave that to Lynette.
Thank you. Thank you once again to Smart Compliance and ISO Robot for putting this up, for creating awareness in Uganda. Also, thank you to the listeners, the attendees that have been on the call. We know that everyone has busy schedules, but you've spared time to come and listen. And we believe that the information will not only end with you, you'll go out there and spread the information that we've learned today. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And please be assured that we'll be sharing the recording with all the people who have registered.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.